Researchers are calling on U.S. authorities to curb the flow of Western transplant-related technologies going to China. On Wednesday's hearing, experts pointed to the CCP-sponsored scheme of killing people for organs that could expand further with such aid. For insight, I spoke with Cynthia Sun, a researcher with the Falun Dafa Information Center. Cynthia, thanks for joining us. Now, based on your organization's research, what is the scope of this kind of unwitting aiding and abetting of forced organ harvesting in China, and what different forms does it take?
I think first you have to understand the structure of the Chinese transplant industry. It is not private. It's completely different from what we know in the West. So in China, the Chinese Communist Party systematically runs all of the hospitals, including military hospitals, and police and the court system are actually involved in organ harvesting and, persecuting, sanctioning, making sure that all of these prisoners of conscience are detained in a single area and are controlled. And what this creates is a structure where it's completely state controlled and it's completely unethical. And a 2019 report actually found that there was 20 or more global companies that are aiding and abetting. And what that means is China's transplant industry doesn't have enough manpower or enough equipment to sustain itself. And so over 90% of the immunosuppressants, the medical equipment, the surgical tools, and the different things needed for transplant, a lot of them are actually imported from overseas. And that's where the West comes in.
Cynthia, what about U.S. doctors and medical institutions? Your organization has been sounding the alarm for years about U.S. medical institutions helping to train surgeons who are Chinese nationals from hospitals associated with forced organ harvesting.
Yeah, so that's the issue. Again, a lot of American transplant centers, a lot of medical complexes don't know the reality of what's going on inside China, and they think it's benign. They think they follow, the oath and medical procedures in China, but that's not the case. And so where I come from in Texas, there's been many reports of doctors and patients who've actually heard of people recommending, just go to China, you can get an organ for cheaper, you can book an appointment ahead of time. And things like that really concern my organization and concern other medical experts. Because what that's saying is, you can book someone's death ahead of time. And that's a major sign, that should be the warning and the alarm that everyone needs to see that this is the reality. Organ harvesting is happening in China. And so I think right now the training of Chinese doctors needs to stop unless there's some thorough background check or some sort of reassurance that those doctors are going to be working in an ethical setting in the future.
And in your research, you found evidence of systematic medical testing of imprisoned Falun Gong adherents taking place in Chinese detention camps. This is based on your interviews with former detainees. Tell us about your findings.
So over the past 6 months, because of the mounting concerns about organ harvesting, it's been happening over 2 decades, and yet people still seem to not think that it's ongoing, that it's continued to this day. And so I, sent out notices and I interviewed over 20 former detainees who've now moved overseas to America, to Australia. And what I found was as early as 2003 and as late as 2018, these people have undergone thorough, repetitive blood testing and organ examinations while they were in detention. And this is completely baffling to the regular person. And I think that's really important because you can't control what Beijing does, but we can control on our side how many people become organ tourists and unknowingly participate in this crime.
Cynthia, as you mentioned, Utah's law is about to come into effect on May 1st. Now, in light of these recent legislative developments, what is the significance of Wednesday's hearing and its timing?
So this week actually marks the 1 year anniversary of the federal bills passing in the House. So there's a House Bill 4132, which is the Stop Forced Organ Harvesting Act. And like the name says, there will be sanctions against perpetrators involved. There might be fines and potential prison terms for individuals found to be involved in forced organ harvesting, which is a great development. But right now, it's been a year and it's still stuck in the Senate. So I think the hearing today by the CECC really is trying to encourage the Senate to push that forward before the next Congress comes into play. And I hope by November, this will be able to smoothly pass, get to the president's desk, and be signed into law.
Cynthia, thank you so much for taking the time speaking with us and sharing your research with us.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor.